Hey there, welcome back to TomGirl. Buckle up because tonight we have stunt driver and 300 mile per hour land speed record holder Tegan Hammond. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey guys, welcome to TomGirl. I'm JJ Jurgens, and I am so freaking excited for this one tonight. Tegan, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
I can't believe the last time I've been this excited. Like going through your Instagram, looking at all your photos, you just have an amazing career and life as a stunt driver.
Thank you very much. That's so sweet. It's kind of surreal, and I just love doing what I do. So I'm always amazed and super grateful to be, people are interested in what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the girls that comes on here as a correspondent a little bit, Julana, gave me your name, and then she just said, you have to have this girl on. She's so wonderful, and she'd be great.
Love her. She's so sweet.
Yeah, so you guys worked on a commercial together.
Yeah, we got to go all over Utah, and she is awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, super fun.
Well, before we get started here, let's show people a little bit of your stunt driving reel, just to get you guys warmed up and show how awesome this lady is. You can see a little bit of it while we're talking. I guess we can't see it in here, but we'll trust that it's playing on there. Anyway, there is music too. So okay, great. So you can go to your website if they want to see it with the full.
Yeah. I guess that we have some songs in there that we're just gonna let view the visuals, and then on my website, which is teganhammond.com. You can see the whole thing.
That's awesome. Was it possible, Steph, I'm talking to the engineer right now for a second, to get the monitor on, because we have so many cool photos throughout the show. I want to make sure that we can see them and talk about them while we're going on. So
for sure, we'll get another producer right in there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So let's start with where did getting started in cars, or your love for cars, come from?
Actually, just started with my family. I was raised in both parents are racers, and my dad's been into cars since well before I was born. And it just was something that's where they were all the time. And if I wanted to spend time with them, then it was in the shop and messing around with machines and Rotex and all kinds of stuff, mostly metal. There wasn't really any wood in there. So I picked up things that were not kind of normal for an average kid I was going to school with, and just kind of called it a day, and really close to my family. And so, one thing led to another, and got a chance to drive at Bonneville. So that was in kind of later in life. My family races at Bonneville Salt Flats. For those of you guys that aren't familiar with that kind of racing, it's high speed. There's a time trial, so 5 miles, or a short course at 3 miles, and there's no other cars on the course at the same time. It's not like Indy or NASCAR where there's actually cars next to each other. So we're racing on fuel type, on car type, engine size, and then how fast you can go. So we started out there like almost like 300 miles an hour. So.
And how many times did you race on there before, like, you set this record? You've been there a lot, or was this just boom?
The first time I ever went to the Salt Flats, I had never driven there. I had never actually been there. And in 7 laps, we did our licensing runs, and then qualifying run, and then the next morning you have to back it up. And they keep your car under supervision all night long. Make sure you don't do anything unique to it. And then 6 a.m., as soon as the sun's up, they send out the qualified cars, and you attempt to back it up with your second run. And then the 2 runs are averaged, and if you're above the speed, you end up with a land speed record. So I have 2. One's 294 miles an hour, and then the second one is 302 miles an hour.
It's just amazing. Like, what is it? And we have some photos, I think photo 1 through 5. I'm not sure if we're catching you guys up. Sorry, my monitor was off. Make sure 1 through 5 is Bonneville, which she's talking about right now. What does that feel like inside that car at that speed?
It's just really focused. I think that's the thing that I love the most about it, is that there's no room for thinking about anything. You don't have time to think about what could go wrong, or your mind to wander anywhere. And I just thought that experience of that presence was so captivating. It was such a great feeling. I've talked to a lot of guys that race, like either motorcycles or cars, and they definitely speak about that focus and how it demands your entire being to be present, and that's very enjoyable for me.
Are you going to go back and try and even
I would
Up
love
yourself,
to, totally. I mean, I actually, absolutely. And ultimately, it came down to my family raced this car that they built and engineered. And there was so much trust involved in knowing that that car had just been every, inch of it had been precisely thought through so carefully. And even the roll bar cage, the whole thing it was like a aviation engineering thing where they pressurize the roll cage. So there's a little gauge that will be, it'll show a certain amount of nitrogen in the system if there's no cracks. So you can look at it and be like, all right, good. There's nothing wrong. Everything's good. So it was just a really beautiful car. If I found a team that wanted a driver, I would absolutely. In fact, right now there's a team at Embry-Riddle University that's in touch with my mom and I. My mom is much faster than me as a driver. And so they've been in touch with us as their driver for a car that their team is developing. So not this year, but next year, hopefully I'll get a chance to go back to the Salt Flats and race for them as a driver, or my mom, or both of us. So
I love that you both drive. Both drive. That's amazing.
you.
What a bond for you guys to share.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always joke. It's like it started out as quality family time. I had no intention of I was really in love with nature and ocean and involved with conservation work, and then all the while getting to experience this with my family every year. So it just sort of grew on me. I didn't know I had it in me until I did.
What was that thought to wait, I can maybe start to make a career out of this or shift this into being,
It was meeting a coordinator who knew about my racing background, and he simply said, I think at a 300-mile-an-hour record level too, it's a unique experience in driving. So the thought was, there's not many women that are driving at that level, and for your look and your skill level, if you're interested in this, then you could really be working. So it put the idea in my head that it was really possible to turn it into a career, which completely blew my mind. So I figured if I didn't give it a try, I would never forgive myself. And if I failed, then I would know. I had given it my everything. And I think that's what life's about. You have to, give yourself some room to explore. So I gave it a shot, and every day just feels like the best day ever.
Well,
I just pray it keeps going.
That's the career you want, right? When you get to do what you love every single day.
It doesn't feel like work. It's just like being creative and being able to work with a team of people that are so professional is such a joy, and tell these amazing stories. So it's been an awesome adventure.
Well, you have some amazing stories to tell. We're going to go through you pick some of your favorite jobs or things that you've gotten to do so far. So we'll go through a few photos from each of them. So this one where you got to work with Can-Am.
Yep, that was a 3-wheel motorcycle, and we went all over Utah and in the mountains at night. We got to go back out to the Salt Flats, which was where I got to set the records, and it was really neat to be back there with the film crew and the camera car. I just love driving with camera car. The big Russian arm is I don't know what it is. It's a real fun experience. So beautiful people. The riders that I got to ride with were just amazing human beings, and yeah, it was a great job. That's where I met Julana, and we just had the best time going around this, adventure. It was great.
And then another one you have, so this one is huge. You got to work for Ferrari.
Yes, that was huge. I got hired through a friend putting my name in, and I guess they had been looking for the right look, and they wanted a certain look for this campaign. I had no idea what it was for, and I didn't know that Ferrari hadn't done any campaigns with women at the time. I just knew Ferrari was an amazing car, and the one that I was driving is pure race car. There's no street about the 488 Pista Spider. It's pretty much a beast. So we were filming this. We were in Big Sur for 4 days, San Francisco to begin with, and then down through Highway 1. And we had a Lamborghini that was our chase car with a camera in the front that we call the Hurricane, because it's the Hurricane Lamborghini with a camera on the front. And we had a helicopter with a full camera, and then the Porsche with the arm car doing all the Russian arm filming. And it was a dream. And then I found out later that was going to be their showpiece at the Paris Motor Show, and on their Ferrari pavilion, here was the first time they'd ever had a female. So it was pretty spectacular. I didn't really realize, or wasn't told at the time, so much what was happening until later, and I wanted to fly to Paris just to see it.
Yeah,
but it was like the day before the show, and it just didn't work out that fast. But what an honor! I mean, that's such a piece of history, and it's very funny to read through the comments underneath. The YouTube page. There's a lot of funny mention of like driving, as women driving, and it's so weird to me that that's such an issue, but it is. It really is. We just had the Indy 500, and there's only been 9 women that have ever driven for Indy, and here they are. Pippa Mann just placed 16th. It was epic. So
talk about, because I know you posted that on your Instagram, a photo with all of you
proud of
ladies.
them.
Talk about some of those women that inspire you, or who you were with that day, and what they mean to you.
Yeah, so I got invited through Lynn St. James, was one of Indy's 9 racers, and she has an amazing book. If anybody's interested in reading about her, she goes into all the details of her journey and what it's like to find the funding for these cars, and she's just a huge inspiration. She just saw this thing that she wanted to do, and it was so unlikely that she had the chance to do it because nobody was. So she made her own way and figured it out and got the funding, and she just saw so many opportunities where there was, others might see obstacles. And I think anybody that's able to do that in their life and find a way to figure out what it is about them that makes them happy and bring other people up is just the goal. So, just be a good person. And she figured it out. And I think that's just so incredible. And there's been a lot of other, stunt women like Debbie Evans and Susan Perkiser and Sarah Trimble. There's just these like incredible women driving at really high levels. And I just have huge girl crushes on all of them. So it's just fun to see somebody, living a good life and being a good person and having a great time. So I hope that I'm seeing that right. It's just it's definitely inspiring to me.
Yeah,
so.
I love, like, even reading the comments. I was telling you earlier that one of the moms or one of your followers wrote, we want you to post more like this because I didn't even know about this, and I want my girl to see these women. And I thought that was true because I didn't know that much about it either till going through your stuff, and I looked at all that. So I think you're definitely inspiring people and inspiring other generations and other girls dreaming out there to do things.
It's funny because even just this last experience at Indy, I had that same feeling. It was like this whole world that opened up, and women like Jessie Combs are there sharing their experiences, and we had the Shift Up Now team, which is a group of women that are empowering women's confidence through motorsports and providing funding for them. And so it's just been really neat. And as involved as I've been to this point, I'm so new in the stunt world, but just with motorsports in general, just in my background my whole life, it's still shocking to me that more people don't realize that that's an option for them. So that's been really fun to experience. I'm definitely my eyes are still opening, despite all this background that I've had. So I feel like it's probably a never-ending experience.
Yeah. Well, it's great that you do have all the background now, because now I feel like the time is right for all of this, so just your world can just completely open up now over the next years.
Hopefully. It's always like, okay, can this keep going? This is so wonderful. So yeah,
it can keep going. Well, let's keep going too. So another amazing project that you got to work on was Magnum PI. So tell us about this.
This was a total dream. I got to drive 8-speed Mercedes Unimog, and there was a burning car involved. I got to push out of the way. It was essentially like an ambush scene and a getaway scene. It was doubling for Jordana Brewster, who is the Fast and Furious star of Paul Walker's character's girlfriend. And the people that I was working with were just incredible, absolutely the best in the business. And that was just a huge honor to work with all of them, Gary Himes and Eric Norris. And just, I think anytime you start something that's new, that you have a dream about, and you train, you show up and all this stuff, it's still very special when somebody sees you and believes in you and makes that call to see if you're available to do that job, and then trusts you with all this equipment and all these people that, hit your marks and everything. So That was epic, and
It looked
definitely
like
a highlight.
It looked like too that there was a lot of room on the side of that rail. Like,
Yeah.
Was there ever any fear of like, or were you just like too
It's funny
adrenaline's going?
because if you've seen the show, it actually ends with the car turning over. So there's the swerving, there's a fight going on, and Magnum's trying to bring the car to a stop, the truck to a stop, and he ends up falling out of the car. And the car swerves and crashes, and so I thought I was going to get to crash this car, this big, truck, and I was so excited. And then found out that we can't, damage the truck, we can't damage the freeway. So that very end part was CG. I was a little disappointed. I'm like, okay, one day I would definitely like to have the chance to do, some more kind of technical crashes and stuff, because there's such an art of the safety and all that involved, and I just think it's fun to see something executed that looks so dramatic, but it's actually, to some degree pretty well, it's pretty safe, if you could say that.
You did a crash for a PSA, right?
Yes.
And when it on your
Yeah.
reel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell us, like, what are the some of the skills, or like, how do you train to crash the car?
That's
correctly?
a really good question, and in fact, that one was a really funny job because I couldn't have any helmet or neck restraint on, and so I was really excited to crash this car, and at the same time wondering what that was going to feel like, with no equipment on. And in retrospect, I wish I would have hit what I was hitting was a dumpster for this show. We were doing a PSA about opiate addiction and recreating actually events that had happened. And so, a teenager had driven her car into a dumpster to hurt herself. So, it's a good public awareness campaign, and I just didn't know what to expect. It's funny how much you train yourself to not hit things, and then as prepared as you can be, it's just you have to like get in there and do it and teach your body. Okay, no, this is like what we're doing, and that was something I wish I could do it again. I learned so much in it.
Well, I'm guessing pressure to get it right, because I'm assuming you don't have multiple cars to like, right?
Yeah,
so you have to be on.
Yeah. There was one take, pretty much, yeah. So if you guys have a chance to check it out, you can see the whole commercial on my Instagram, and they did a great job. The team was amazing, and there's just, you just train. You got to train yourself, and especially if the shot calls for a crash, then you need to learn how to, get comfortable really selling that crash on camera. So it's a skill. It's just like anything else. You practice, and, we didn't learn to run before we walked, so crawl, walk, run. And
So that's the same.
yeah.
I think that we have one more video to show of you. So this was for Polaris. And I think this was doing one of, you can tell the term, I don't know the term of what.
Donuts.
Just
Around
donuts
the
on this one.
cameraman.
Okay.
This was really special because the crew and my passenger in that seat, this is for Dean Bradshaw, who's just an absolutely beautiful cinematographer, photographer, and director. And you could tell the whole crew was warming up to this idea as I kind of saw the driving happen and how well I was handling, getting close to the camera and whatever it was the cues that we were looking for. And this cameraman came up to me and he asked me, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And I just looked at him and I'm like, this guy, it totally trusts me and I totally trust him, and like, yes, let's do this. And so it was like this beautiful dance and came out really well, and we had a great time. And so that was a fun shot.
In all these samples, you've gotten to drive different vehicles. Talk about the difference of driving, that versus what your speed record, car was in, and what maybe some of your favorite vehicles you like to drive and why.
It's so interesting is every car is set up so differently. So, for example, I just went to Dirtfish Driving School, which is a rally car driving class in Seattle and Snoqualmie.
I think we got 18 and 19. Yep, yeah.
And so that car, it's a Subaru BRZ. All the electronics are taken out, so it's all direct. There's no automated braking or acceleration or anything. It's just everything you want it to do. When you tell it to do it, it's going to do. And it was just the best car. So, if you were going to try and drive that on the salt flat, you'd probably be disappointed. But for what you're trying to do, if you have the car that's set up for that, then your experience is top. So every car is it's so different. We do the vintage sprint circuit, and that was another completely different setup. You've got one brake in the front left to help you set up your turn, and you're basically just going sideways through the corners and then as fast as you can through the straightaway and then hanging the tail out and going sideways around the corners again. And so it's day and night difference from Bonneville racing, where you're going straight and fast. And that picture's from the Race of Gentlemen, which came out of Wildwood, New Jersey, and was in Pismo Beach a few years back, and then recently in Santa Barbara. And that is a car my dad built, and so I had a chance to drag race it. So it's like a quarter mile, just for fun. And then Laguna Seca, that's the corkscrew at Laguna Seca. So track driving, that whole day, actually, I went out with a Speed Ventures group, which is like organized, fun, gentleman's racing sort of. And I think I ran into one other woman. She was there with her family racing, and I just I camped actually the night up there in a one-man tent at the campground.
Love it.
And I thought it was going to be hot, and it was like soupy, rainy coastal fog. And I just showed up and had never done a track day and met some people that were so helpful. And everything that I learned that day at Laguna Seca was really helpful in driving the Ferrari on Highway 1, all those roads, and just learning how to come into corners super hot and brake up front and then accelerate out of the corners. And just every car has a different, setup and purpose and terrain, if you're on dirt, if you're on asphalt. So I know everybody develops their own favorites, but I think probably the goal is just to, be able to get into any vehicle and understand enough about the dynamics of like weight transfer and braking and all kinds of like your suspension setup and your terrain, if there's gravel, and just be able to handle the car. So, I mean, every one I get to experience, I end up loving. So.
I'm sure they're all different. So for training, you go to like these schools and also do stuff on your own. What are other ways that people who maybe want to try to get into this like you would recommend that they could start training or get involved?
Yeah, so I mean, gosh, I'm so new to this, which is such a blessing to be able to have all these stories to share. But I basically bought that car, the Mustang, 1995 Mustang, and there's a handbrake in it, and did a bunch of work on it with help and myself, and spending long hours at nights putting in a roll bar and all kinds of stuff. So really, I think just besides the classes like Dirtfish I mentioned, I did Rick Seaman's driving clinic, which is like the class that so many guys take, whether they've come to driving through stunts and they've been stuntmen for a long time, they want to get more into driving. That's a place that they'll go. It's out at Willow Springs. And you just learn like 90s and slides and 180s and all kinds of stuff. So that was a starting point for me, just as like a fun I didn't think I was going to be doing stunts at that time. It was just like, hey, do you want to come along? I know you race at Bonneville 300 miles an hour. You'd probably dig this. And it was like Valentine's Day, and I didn't have anything going on. I'm like, yeah, this is great. I'm gonna join you guys. So we went out there, and that was my first experience with stunt driving. So there's a lot of classes you can take, like track driving. I've done the BMW Performance Driving Center, which is in Thermal, and anybody can go. And I would encourage anybody to go out and do these classes, because you get a chance to see, you're driving every day, and you might as well get a chance to understand more about what your car can do, and
you just took
feel
a
more
class
confident
for jumps too, right?
Yeah. So Rick, also the same person that did the class that I initially took, he just developed a jumping class. He learned about launching and you setting up your ramps, and ended up jumping 60 feet in this car, and it was all set up brilliantly, and that was just so much fun. So.
I know you said some of the terms just a little bit ago, and that was one thing I wanted to ask you. Give us some like of the layman's terms for people who don't know, like so that when they're watching movies they can know, oh, she said that's that's
yeah. Well, like a reverse 180, you see that's like the typical getaway. Some guy's going down a road, and then somebody else comes up from the other side and they throw it into reverse, and then they're doing their getaway moves. Like, that one was really fun. I don't really know. Then I guess like a 90 would just be coming in like through an intersection. And when you see him hang the tail out and then go down the next street, that would be like, they call it like a flying 90 or whatever. I'm probably making such a fool of myself because all the guys that have been doing this forever probably don't call it that. But anyway, this is what you learn, and that's the move. And then like 180s is, it's just going straight, turning around, going back the other way. So 360s, just kind of basic stuff, but it's fun to watch a movie and like maybe like a scene on a freeway or something, and I'll be watching it and it looks really dramatic, and I can kind of slow it down in my mind and go, oh, okay, I can see all these cars are driving in a pattern, and the hero car or motorcycle or whatever, maybe they're zipping through the formation, and all these other cars are sort of, it's a choreographed dance, so it's fun to kind of look at things and try and figure out how they did this. There's so much talent that goes into organizing some of these stunts that you see, and there's a lot of stuff you watch. I would have no way of, even beginning to understand everything that's gone into setting it up. So it's fun though to try and watch stuff, and then just start to piece it out in your head. Yeah.
Is that where you find your inspiration for like new stunts to try or pushing further?
I'll take my car. I have a 1998 BMW M3 now that I train with. And I'll just take it out. I've got some cameras. I built a little shock box with a Pelican case and put my GoPro in it and set it up and try and just, practice not only like execution, but how close I am to camera, or, just imagining a situation like, okay, let's just see, this is a street, and set up my cones as though they're cars. And just, get every aspect of maybe a reverse 180 or a 180 into like a park, and just set up drills and run them until I feel like, all right, I got this.
I got it down.
I understand this. You're not thinking so much, you're just doing it. So, so yeah, just try to stay ahead of each job and make sure you're ready.
And then how do they come to you like, we're looking for somebody who can do this, this, and this, or do you put out there like, look, these are the ones I can do? How does getting work for you?
That's a really good question. Right now, it seems like it's just been a huge networking, like the people that are just basically friends, like they meet me or I meet them, and for whatever reason I'm just so blessed that they'll put my name in to, a lot of people are impressed with the 300-mile-an-hour racing and just showing up to train when I'm by myself figuring it out. Like sometimes the hardest part's just showing up. So I've been really lucky just having people, I think, believe in me. And if you have the right look, sometimes it's about matching, like Julana and I look enough alike that I can ride a motorcycle for her. And sometimes it's age, I don't know, maybe your height or build, but you always have to have the technical skill to back it up for sure. You can't be endangering anybody. So it's an art for sure, that whole world of like, how do you maintain work, and all that stuff is part of the learning curve. And I'm still so new. It's just, I think for me, just, it's important to have the training and just to go out, show up, keep practicing, and have a good work ethic, and show up on time to everything, be early. Like there's just little things I think that help, and just being nice. Hopefully that's good. You want to work with people that are friendly and like good people. So
I'm sure it helps too when they think that they can hire you for the stunts, but then they meet you too, and that you're absolutely beautiful and stunning.
Thanks.
So it's like you can be the model or the whoever in the shoot as well.
I think the Polaris job was like a crossover. I did get signed through LA Talent for their commercial division and LA Models as well. So I haven't done so much of the modeling work, but the talent job that came through them, and it's just, I don't know, the concept of like, oh, you're beautiful or you're pretty, that was not a part of my world ever growing up. So it just, I have two older brothers. Like they're not like, oh, you're so pretty. They're like, we're going to lock you in this, room and see if you can figure out your way out, So it's just interesting. I'm Thank you.
Yeah. Well, because that's a whole nother world you could knock down too. It's just the modeling and
it's
talent.
that. Yeah. Thank you. That's fun. It's just like a constant exploration of, all right, like what's next? What do I want to focus on? And really what's possible.
Would you ever want to like broadcast and like call any of the races or commentary?
Oh, it's a good question. I think I enjoy being behind the scenes. So, yeah, I mean, maybe at some point, but it would be, so much farther down the road. I feel like right now I'm just focused on accomplishing things and, just honing down on what's possible and what I'm capable of has been really fun.
Just a few general questions, just what feeling does that give you?
I really enjoy the feeling of just being in complete command of your adventure and, putting on your favorite song in your car and taking off. And I love seeing new roads and I love just getting out and nature and being, kind of outside of cities and stuff makes me feel at peace. So, and oftentimes it's just going to get somewhere, like going up the 395 to get to Mammoth. That's such a beautiful road to drive. And then, at the end, you're going to have this epic adventure. It just brings you smiles and happiness. So it's just kind of a good feeling and it's simple,
Yeah. Well, speaking of epic adventures, because on top of all of this, you also do love to adventure and you love a lot of other sports. So I think we have some more pictures from your Instagram. Talk about some of the other things that you like to do.
Yeah, I'm kind of a fish out of water. So that's really, truly my happy place. And when I'm on land, I'd like to be driving. And if I'm not, I'd love to be back in the ocean. My brother taught me how to surf when I was 13. And I'm not a great surfer, but I do like, I love surfing and learned to spearfish and love free diving and learned to scuba dive actually when I was about 11 at the Channel Islands off the coast of, Ventura, Santa Barbara area. And it's just, you can't go out there without falling in love with it. It's magic to have harbor seals, playing with you and all the fish and kelp forests and whatnot. So it's just a magical world. I definitely, as much as I could be in it, that's where I want to be.
And you do everything. You do snowboarding and wakeboarding as well.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, it was just kind of, I guess if you're an athlete, you're an athlete. So once it starts, I was very involved with gymnastics since I was like in kindergarten. I started and was so all about it until I was about 12 and started growing really fast. And then there was issues, and so it was all sports and basketball and whatever else it was that we were doing. This was ice climbing after a long day of snowboarding and getting in trouble from the ski patrol. My friend and I, and we went down to go do tubing and whatnot. This was in Canada. And I saw this thing and it just looked incredible. So we decided to go up it, and that was a blast. I don't know what it is. Yeah. Just some people have that in them and some people not so much. So it's just my thing, I guess.
How does your adventure spirit or your experience with sports relate to how you are now as a person and with your business and your career?
That's a really good question. Honestly, I would have died if I didn't have sports and art in school. I don't know how I would have survived, but it just gave me this great foundation for training. As I said, I was really into gymnastics growing up, and I was out at UCSB at the local college, so on their youth team. And we had 3 hours, 3 times a week that we were going, and the training was insane. It was 45 minutes solid of conditioning when you're 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years old. It's pretty intense, but I loved it. So you got to see what you show up, you have something that's laid out for you, you struggle through it, and then you get to watch yourself improve in real time is a pretty special thing. I don't know if that's ever going to get old, It's just, it gave me a good foundation for knowing how to train myself. So when it came to cars, it's all right, I need to, develop my things, my routines. What is it that I want to get out of this day? I'm going to drive 2 hours to go to a track and try and figure something out. So, and just have fun, It's always been really fun. So,
the rush.
Yeah, I definitely owe that learning of, how to train and just showing up and all that work ethic and stuff from sports for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's do now a fun little new segment we're going to do tonight on the show. Is we're going to do the TomGirl Top 3. So we are going to do your top 3 favorite roads to drive.
All right, so definitely Big Sur. The Highway 1 is absolutely gorgeous. I'm sure you've been. It's amazing. The 395 up to Mammoth is gorgeous, up through the mountains and desert. And I love being in Joshua Tree. So those would be my top 3 roads. They're gorgeous.
You're making me really want to do road trips now.
Well, and also, see, you can't like just have 3, but
yeah, you can keep going.
And then there's going through Italy. Oh my God, those roads are beautiful through Siena, and all the wine country there is absolutely gorgeous. So, okay, I'm going to pull one from California and put one from Italy in my top 3.
Okay, you can do that. Perfect. Thank you. So what is any upcoming projects or things you're working on now, or cars you're working on, stunts?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
Right now it's always, I mean, there's a lot of exciting things on the horizon, but it's always between jobs, you're just focused on your training, and so somehow it just something ends up coming along and you don't exactly know when it'll be or what it is, but you just stay focused on, doing what you're doing, and that's what it's all about. So, we'll see what the next thing is that comes up. And in the meantime, I've got my BMW and take it out to the track. And like I said, just practicing whatever it is. If I see like a move on, movie, I'm like, okay, I want to try and figure out my reverse 180 to a drift corner, and let's get that down. So, it's fun. It's just dissect everything down to, if somebody asks you, where should we put the camera on this? Then you can kind of analyze, okay, what car do I have? How heavy is it? How's it set up? And what's the road terrain? And all that stuff. So there's a lot to practice, which is great.
Any like dream goals out there, or like, I want to do a stunt in this type of movie, or I want to drive this road, or what's out there?
Yes, actually, like the next training I'd really like to do would be like mountain driving in Europe. There's this, or maybe Colorado or something, wherever there's high terrain mountainous roads. There's some in Oregon that are beautiful that they use for rally driving, and I'd just like to do some more of that, like, elevation change driving experience. And there's one a friend of mine did that was in Europe that sounded amazing. So it was kind of a winter driving experience in the mountain roads, which I thought sounds pretty interesting.
Or terrifying.
Yeah, we can figure that out. Let's try. So I've always loved James Bond movies. I love Atomic Blonde and that whole series. I don't know, it's just like a fun spy thriller adventure film. So
would you say that one was your favorite? I meant to ask you that question. Your favorite stunt involved movies?
I don't know if I have a favorite. There's so many. It'd be really hard to pick one, but definitely is in terms of goal, it would be amazing to be in some kind of film like that with like a strong female character that has some epic driving. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I think it's gonna happen. I can't wait to watch.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I think you were just fabulous. It's been so exciting. I've loved learning about all of this from you, and I can't wait to watch and see all the things that you do next.
Thanks so much. It's great to have be here.
Tell everybody where they can follow you, your website, where they can follow you on social media.
Yeah, okay, so I do have a website, which is teganhammond.com. So I'll just spell it, it's kind of an unusual name. It's TeganHammond. And then my Instagram is tegan.hammond as well. So try and keep that as updated as possible, although it's tricky sometimes, but
There's beautiful shots. You guys will love her. You'll be just enthralled with all of her social media and website. Well, I think that's all the time we have tonight. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you here again next week. Have a great week.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.